Hi, and welcome to For Feck's Sake Marketing Adventures. It's Carmel here again, and from now till near the end of December, we're going to have 1 and 2 interviews every single week because I've got so many amazing people. I just want to shove them all in and get them all there because it's just too valuable not to do it. So For Feck's Sake Marketing Adventures, as you know, it's a place for us to share tips, tricks and insights so that you helps you out with your marketing, including all the slip-ups and the successes. So if you're watching us on Facebook, LinkedIn, or one of the social media challenges, see, it's live, channels, please hit a like or a comment below. If you're watching us on YouTube, please subscribe and hit that bell as well so that you will be notified every time that we have an awesome person on like we do today. So we're bringing you some inspiring, real people, business builders, exceptional entrepreneurs that have overcome hurdles in their business and in their marketing, because we know that you may be somewhere there, and if somebody else has got over it, so can you. So my amazing guest today is a woman from my own country. And in case you can't pronounce her name, it's Roisin Bennet, all the way from Ireland. So we'll try and keep it slow, that we won't talk too fast, Roisin, but you know, we'll have a
sure
crack at it, as you say. So Roisin, welcome, and I'm going to introduce you properly and not just say hello, here's Roisin. So Roisin is a creative, resourceful professional with over 20 years experience, although she doesn't look that old, as if she in
Zoom is kind.
Yeah, corporate marketing and holistic digital ecosystems. So for private and public companies. So Roisin is just back a couple of days ago from Dubai. So she travels anywhere from Saudi Arabia to Ireland and anywhere in between. So she has constructed and orchestrated some great marketing strategies and campaigns, like internationally. And we all know at the moment, the world has become a very small place. So to have those kind of skills and be able to do it on an international basis is becoming even more important in business. So she's a creative and strategic thinker with high focus, practical and results-driven approach. Roisin, welcome.
Thank you, Carmel. That sounds wonderful. I wonder what it all means, really.
It just means that you are absolutely phenomenal. So you've just come back from Dubai, but just let's kind of step it back a little bit and tell us a little bit about who Roisin is and how she got into this thing called marketing, or how she even fell over into this kind of industry, if you like.
Yeah, I suppose all my career I've been in marketing. I studied it in college. I had the great opportunity to represent. It was Irish tourism. I was based in Paris, marketing the west of Ireland internationally, and that was the first, we'll say. And then I went into aviation marketing, and you would know the west of Ireland, Shannon Airport. I was marketing across Europe, and that was the first part of my career. It was the first 20 years, and I suppose about 20, the industry changed with the onset of internet, the onset of low cost carriers. There was a different way of marketing a destination or an airport. The low cost carriers, they didn't share information about their passengers. So as an airport, we didn't know who was traveling to our airport really anymore. There was a different way, a relationship with the airline. So at that time, I think I always had a kind of an interest in entrepreneurship and wanted to do my own thing. I'd worked in Paris on my own, running the office. So I kind of always was like self-employed there. Yeah. So I went with this, I built a product that was tailored for the tourism industry and for aviation, in trying to gather customer information about the passenger going through airports. And these were interactive kiosks. And it was, we were rewarding the passenger that were coming through our airport, with some sort of a reward in order to get their data and get their information for marketing purposes. So it started there, and so I left the wasn't a good idea or not, but I left the nice pensionable job and set up a business on my own. And I love it. I love being in. I love being in business. It can be so challenging at times, and I've made the mistakes and I've learned from them. And in the latter years, I built up a business. I built up that business. It was it was called Travel Ace. It was so we were gathering customer data, but also we built kind of a travel brand as well. That was it was a bit like TripAdvisor for travel for low cost carriers.
But it was more stationary, as in it was from what you're saying, it was a kiosk in the airport that they would do, and the law of reciprocity of work. We give you something if you fill in this survey or whatever like that.
Exactly, yeah. And it was a nice model. I think it was a good model at the time, but it came to a point where I had to decide. Everything was moving on mobile. Did you need a kiosk? They're coming in the airport. They can do that survey on their app. So it came to a point where I decided, do I sell on this business? And I decided to sell it on. And I was based in Qatar at the time. My husband was working out there, and I got into consultancy and mentoring businesses there, and I love that area. I found that I love entrepreneurship, but I also love working with entrepreneurs, and it's fantastic. It's with entrepreneurs and young businesses starting out, you get to share their journey and be part of it, and from my experiences, and I'm constantly in this space, researching, working. I can bring a lot of value, and that's so rewarding. And as you find in your business, that you benefit from the enthusiasm and the excitement of starting up a business, and then but be there as a mentor. So I love this area. Yeah.
It's like bringing up your little kids, sort of thing. You mentioned, just kind of before we dig a little bit deeper, though, you mentioned that marketing had changed, and that's why you changed how you did it. How do you find in the last 4 to 5 years even that marketing has changed again?
Yeah, it's constantly changing, and isn't that is the challenge. I suppose that change has accelerated tenfold in the last year, because it's now online, it's digital, and it's digital first. And I suppose that was happening anyway, but it's been accelerated, and that is a challenge for small businesses, but it's also a great opportunity, because
the world has become so much smaller.
The world, and and here we're having this conversation, Carmel, because the world has become smaller. And most of my clients are international, as you say, because I found in the last year, the last 2 years now, we all shared, in every country, we were all sharing the same thing. We were all sharing the same challenge, and I've built up great contacts with people internationally, and I found you because I was probably online going, how do you do video marketing? I gotta get on there, and this lady was popping up with a cheerful smile, and you were there all the time. I mean, you were doing it well, because I found during the year, as a marketer and a mentor to businesses, I felt that I needed to have the answers for businesses, and I did burn out with Zoom fatigue, and
it's a real thing.
And by its nature being online, you're constantly distracted, and there's things are changing, and you can be distracted, and you get to a point you think, I've had enough. It can be overwhelming.
Absolutely. I get it.
And one thing actually I would share with because I found that it became a bit overwhelming, and I love the stuff, but so for people, what I'd say is, be a bit kind to yourself. Don't get it is difficult. I found in the last, I'm going to share it because it's been a bit life changing for me. But I found it when for most of the year, I wasn't taking exercise. I wasn't giving time to myself. I was online.
Yes,
I was having
yes.
calls morning, noon, and night.
And
And
we're sitting
but
down. Yeah,
sitting down and I just wasn't, you're into lack enthusiasm, you're not probably as healthy as you should be. But I started online training on the doing these resistant band training. I
right.
do it three
Okay.
times a week. But you know something, you have to give time to make time for yourself
Oh,
and
million percent.
exercise. So I've worked that into that. That's not, I don't change that. It's three
The
times a week. It's
non-negotiables.
tough, non-negotiable. And I must say, for any business owner, I would say make time for yourself.
Yeah.
Exercise is so important. I come out of there. It really is challenging, and this guy makes me work hard. But I find, mentally, it takes away the stress, and you're ready for the day. And
That's it.
but it's
Because,
just a little nugget. It applies to everybody, but
absolutely.
I
And
didn't do it
previously,
myself.
I think you're so right. Like we would have been out meeting people. So you're getting up, you're getting dressed, you do whatever, you're walking into the event, you're walking out of the event, even those little
Yeah,
incidentals. Whereas now
exactly.
I can go to the bedroom and put my
Exactly.
face up and wear my tracky jacks and a pair of runners on the bottom, and nobody would
Yeah.
know any different. You know what I mean? In actual fact,
Yeah.
right now I am wearing sports shorts on the bottom because we're going out for a walk.
Good for
But the
you.
point is, you don't have to go out, and it's been a challenge for me at times. I go, yes, I will get up and do the exercise, and then I go, oh, but I've got this meeting and I've got that, because I'm
I
talking
know.
to people all over the world. So the times, I mean, some of the US from here, there's a 13-hour time difference. So it's like trying to schedule it in that isn't the middle of the night or in the morning. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to ask you as well about marketing wise, when we know that it's changed, and I agree with you, it's fast change, it's the technology and that. Do you find that marketing is very different in all different countries or very similar?
It's for I do think it's very similar.
Yeah,
Businesses, they all have the same issues. What I would say, yeah, so there has been, this explosion of online. So it's opened up whole new markets for people, but it's also very busy. So it's hard. It's
yes,
a little bit more difficult to get heard, and that is kind of, I
yes,
think, going forward. I think if you look, I'm on LinkedIn a lot. I think it's the amount of posts, I think, has tripled in 1 year. So how do you get heard? How do you get seen above
yeah,
above the others? And what I advise people there, so it's become more important. Marketing itself, hasn't changed really. It's just that it's got so. I mean, it's this, the principles are still the same, but it's. I talk a lot about growth marketing, and
yeah,
growth marketing is marketing with layers on, and it's that we have now. There's more data available to us. There's more.
yeah,
It's become a bit more scientific in how we approach it, and that so to me that is an opportunity for small business, because the data is there. You can get more, I suppose, targeted in your approach to
yeah,
marketing, and I think that's so important. I mean, I would always, my big thing is with businesses is get your foundations right,
yes.
which is
This is
which is the same for marketing now, and before that. If you really need to, now more than ever, really understand your customer, and
yeah,
know where they are. You can't be everywhere, so you need to know where
yes,
they are, what their
yes,
issues are. Their customer journey has changed, and if you're speaking to them specifically, and addressing their needs, and sharing their journey, that's what you need to be doing. And if they're on, you need to know the platform they're on, and that's where you need to be then, and
yeah,
that's where you're talking to them, you're sharing information, you're there to help. um
absolutely.
so I think,
Um,
and also I think it's important, you know, a lot of, I work a lot with startups, I suppose, and the importance of niching. You
Yeah,
know, it's not, you know, some businesses, they'll say, no, I don't want to niche. I'm missing out on all this other you know, other business. But
you're
really,
speaking
if
my
you, yeah,
language, yes.
if you niche, you're going to stand out. It's going to be easier to
Yeah.
stand out. So you got to niche into a particular area that, you know, your real customer, and it's possible now with the data and with you know, social listening, to find out where that perfect customer is. You know, who is your perfect
Absolutely.
customer?
I quite often, when I talk about that, I liken it to a dartboard, because people
Yeah,
used to always say the same to me and say, oh my God, I'm losing all these people. And I'm going, think of a dartboard, and your ideal customer is that one person in that middle of that, and they might have 10 problems or 10 variants of them. I said, well, the outside circle has 7 of those same problems, and the outer circle has 4 of them, and the outer circle still has 2. So when the time is right, they will hear you when you're speaking your message and the problem that you solve all the time. And I think that's how you stand out, as you said, in a crowded market. They're typing stuff into Google, and we can find out what they're typing into Google. So if you
yes,
know that that's a question and that's a problem you solve, if you're making videos, writing content, articles, blogs to answer that and to solve that problem,
exactly.
oh my goody goodness, you're going to be found much quicker than some of the
Yeah.
others.
Absolutely, and I think the importance of your personal brand
Yeah,
has become huge as well,
yeah,
and because people, you know, they buy from someone they know, like, and trust,
yeah,
you know, and video, the importance of video marketing, and putting yourself out there. It's a hard thing to do, and
yeah,
you know, many of us like, you know, putting ourselves out there on the camera, but it's very powerful, and it's and being consistent. You know, I think that
yes, spot on.
we sometimes we try it, and we'll say we do a video one week, and we do it kind of maybe for a month. We're really great at posting
Yeah,
great content, and then, but the consistency is important, and I would advise people to you know, to get help in these things initially,
yeah,
there's so many different resources, and outsourcing, you know,
mm,
services like yours, Carmel, you know, that
yeah.
it's because it is there's a video, as I said, it is kind of critical, I think, going
Well,
forward.
even on LinkedIn, you mentioned LinkedIn
Yeah,
earlier, which was never a video kind of platform, but it is
no,
now.
it
It's
is
gone
now.
up a
It is now.
lot.
And
Even
yeah.
LinkedIn Lives you can do.
Yeah, and I think that I see huge success for businesses that, you know, they're constantly, they're there every week, they're talking to their clients, people are getting to know them, and, you know, sometimes people may not react, businesses or may not react to your video, but, you know, it does register, and
Yes.
it does, and when they see you constantly, they know that you're there. When they have that need
Yeah.
to turn to,
And
yeah,
I had a prime of example of that. It's a few months ago now. I met somebody in the shopping center, and they actually came over to me. I was sitting having, I'll say a coffee, but it wasn't a coffee. I don't drink coffee. It was a hot chocolate in a
mhm,
cafe. And he said, look, I'm sorry to interrupt you. Is that okay? And I said, yeah, I knew the guy from networking events, but has never put a like or anything on any of my comments. He said, I just wanted to say, I love what you're doing. I love the message you have. I see your videos every day. Da, da, da. And I was like, what? But had
yeah,
never ever liked or commented on anything. You're so right. When you're consistent, people see you. I talk a lot about right message, right person, right time. So when you're talking, it may not be the right time for them right now, but when the time is
yeah,
right, they'll go, oh, who's that person that keeps talking about that thing? Oh, that's her. I've seen her lots on video or whatever. And
yeah.
I think you
Mhm.
talked about that people buy from people that they know, like, and trust. How much easier it is to build know, like, and trustability through a video.
Yeah, absolutely.
So,
And
so, so
yeah,
much
yeah,
easier.
yeah,
Yeah,
it does. It is more impactful, and also for Google search now. You know, they favor video. You know, there's all sorts of
yeah.
benefits to video marketing.
Well, what is it?
Uh,
Google is the #1 search engine, and YouTube is the #2, and they're both owned by the same people.
yeah, yeah. So it's you know,
So,
we have to but I would say as well that you know, get started with video. But you also, there's a lot of video coming, and,
ah,
you know, it needs to be done right too, because I think that
yes,
you know, I think during the pandemic, you know, it didn't everything was people were forgiving. You know, it was
Yes.
just great
It's
to
like,
be out
"Ah,
there.
whatever. Yeah.
But I think you need to do it right as well, and to just get your, and once you get it set up, and like I've a room dedicated now to video, which I'm about to start using, but it's I think the quality of just get your audio and and you know, bring in the expertise, I
Absolutely.
think, just to get you
Yeah.
started and get you set up.
And I have an office in my house, and like this one is set up specifically, like this is real, guys, it's not green screen, but it's set up specifically for video creation. That's what
Yeah.
it's set up for, because I'm on calls like this. And I'm just about to start utilizing StreamYard. I don't know if you've heard of
Yes,
StreamYard.
I have the box, Carmel. I have it ready. I've bought it.
Oh, okay.
I have to
Well,
start using it.
let me tell you, StreamYard is, I can go live here on LinkedIn
Yeah.
and on YouTube all at the same time. That
Yeah.
one here. And I can have more logos and things like that. And I know some other people will say, oh, we've been doing that for ages. That's fine. But it's just stepping it up and keeping it professional, as you say, and, you know, using the green screen. You can set up a corner of your house to do a video.
Yeah.
And there is so many cameras, good cameras on your phone as well. Like, you don't need to have humongous equipment. And if you're not ready to put your face to camera, there's lots of apps. One of the ones that I love is in video. There's lots of apps that you can use, that you can use their templates until you're ready to do the video, and you can upload little bits of video into it as well. But so I think we could talk forever, and I'm aware that my Irish accent may be coming out a bit stronger, guys, because I'm talking to somebody Irish, but that's okay. Yeah. Tell us though, and you know, getting to know you and your journey a little bit more. So you said that you've been doing it for years. So you've been doing it for years, and then you've gone out on your own. What would you say have been some of the biggest mistakes you've made to starting your own business?
Well, my first business was this idea of the kiosks and gathering the customer information. I built the whole thing. I invested a lot in a brand. Because in my head I knew what the solution was, and I should have. If I was to do it again, I invested a lot up front, and I built it. I was talking about the great features were in this. There was it was complex, a complex probably proposition to businesses, and they didn't necessarily want it. I built it and they will come, as opposed to I should have built it with the customer, you know, getting their feedback, and I built on the layers. And I'll just take an example of my solution. In my opinion, had a lot of there was a lot of you know, features and value in it. We gathered the information. We did a full kind of survey on the people. We had there was a lot of value in what we were offering. But around the same time, you'll notice so we were targeting airports and visitor attractions, and it was kind of tailored for that. We on one of the kiosks, the option was take a free video postcard to send to your friends and family. Right. So we were capturing the email and of the person that was using it and their friends and family, and they could opt in to hear from us again. So we were building our audience that way. Yeah. But so the. But around the same time, you will see these kind of, you know, the kiosks that you see at airports now. It's like it's a simple kiosk. There's 3 buttons on it. Did you ever, you know, how was your trip today? Like, yes. It was a very simple kind of. To me, it doesn't gather a huge amount of information on the guest, but that's as much as the airports want it, really. Right. Okay. So I had built all this complex stuff, and you know, they didn't really want it. I thought they wanted it, but they weren't prepared. But a simpler model, probably, which was a lot cheaper as well, was enough. So I suppose, you know, building it all out and holding on to the idea until everything was perfect and ready to go. I spent a lot of money building that. Yeah. And then it wasn't necessarily what the client wanted. Yeah. Now, what I would be encouraging business to do is, you know, it's all about building your community first.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's building, you know, and build the journey, you know, with the customer in mind.
Yeah.
Let them have
Yeah.
input to what they want, you know, and I see that being done very successfully in some businesses. So they're building the community, saying, Carmel, look at this is the proposition. This is what we do. This is what we can do really well for you. You know, what is it you want exactly, and don't be afraid to
Yeah.
ask questions to your audience, and
A million percent.
serve with them early, and you know, offer maybe go to the market with your minimum viable product, and
Yeah.
and build from there, as opposed to building everything out first and then think, well, we don't really want that much.
Yeah. Or sometimes
So
the
it's,
time has gone as well. It's like what you think is needed right now. In 12 months, as quickly as things are changing, it may not be what's wanted. And I've heard that
absolutely.
saying a lot, where people say, build it and they will come. And I call bullshit on that. It's like, no, go
Yeah.
out and do your market research and find out what is it that's missing in the market. Because, you know, it's like people say, oh, lots of people are doing that. I'm going, there's lots of doctors in the world and they're still busy. So find out what it is that's needed, something that's already lucrative or making money, and how can you do it differently, or what can you
Yeah.
add to it that makes you even more unique? Why
Yeah.
reinvent the wheel? Like, why?
Yeah, that's it. Absolutely, Carmen. And I think that that, you know, be prepared to be agile. That
Yes.
what you might have started out offering, and in my case, I was offering a kind of, I thought there was so much value in it, but when I started out offering, I should have been maybe a bit more agile, to just focus in on the bit
Yeah.
that they wanted most. You know,
And thank
so
you for being so open and honest about that, because this is the truth.
yeah, I mean, I find when I mentor on a platform, growthmentor.com, a great platform, by the way, with mentors from all over the world. And
Yeah.
when I'm advising businesses, you know, I always go back to that example, because all startups, I think many startups are the same. You know, they have the same issues.
Yeah.
You know, they're afraid to show it until everything's done and perfect, and then I spent a fortune on this brand and all this stuff, and
And
really
it's gone.
it wasn't really relevant.
Yeah.
You know, I could have done it differently. But you see with a lot of, you know, there's the successful businesses now that started out maybe with one offering, and you know,
Yeah.
they had the agility to say, you know, to
They
change
do.
and to adapt.
They put
You
it up
know,
and more and more.
yeah.
And you know what, like when you say that, it's so funny, because I look at me and people say, oh, you do videos, you do marketing. I go, I was never a marketer. I never did video. And I never
Yeah,
intended to be a video person or to teach people how to do video. Never in my
yeah,
wildest dreams. But I started doing leadership, and I started doing, you know, team building, and I was a coach and all that sort of thing. But I wasn't making any money. So I had to
yeah,
learn marketing. And then people said, how do you do that? And that was how, like, as you say, remaining agile and go, oh, if other people are stuck with this, maybe there's something here and maybe I can teach them. And that's even how these interviews started, was like, for feck's sake, I'm coming up against this stuff. Surely other people are coming up against it too. So yeah, and I
yeah.
love when somebody is open and honest and being vulnerable. So tell me, what is that has been the hardest decision you've ever had to make in your business?
The hardest decision. um, maybe it was that business, because I put so much into it. I actually, I would say that business I carried on, and I did succeed in getting a big contract with it was a drinks company, and we were awarded this contract to have these interactive kiosks. It started to grow out of, maybe they like the idea, they like the concept, and they agreed that we would install these, and we were building up the whole kind of interactive experience, and it was getting
Yeah.
bigger, and we were maybe 6 months into the project. We had the designs done. I think we were ready to install, I would say, in the new year, and it came, and I suppose I put all my eggs in one basket in a way, because this was going to be my showcase. This was going to be
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
this is, you know,
Absolutely.
others are going to see this, and they're a big brand, and you know, life is going to be great. But you know, it was a week before Christmas, and I got a call, and they just cut the whole thing.
Oh,
They just cut the whole thing. and because I think their head office in a different country had said, you know, we have. I mean, I think they wanted to do it. They had their own tech team. I think it was getting big. As a bigger project, and they were taking it over, but it just caught, and I was like, what do I do now? You know, all the time and effort, and so, you know, where is this business going? Do I reinvest in it? I kind of just lost momentum because a lot was riding on this, because all of my providers as well were kind of, it was going to be my big validation and showcase, and that was tough, because I had to make a decision. Look at, am I pumping more money into something that hasn't got legs? So I kind of changed direction then. In fact, and I suppose it did show a certain amount of agility. I found that there were other applications for this surveying customer feedback, and we went into a lot of universities. Universities wanted it at the beginning of the year. You found they wanted to find out a lot about their students, and you know, so it was for a number of months of the year they wanted to get the contact data, and they rewarded them with a coffee in the or a free tea or something. And it just. So I did change the model, and we rebranded and it rolled it out into different industries and sectors. And
that would have been a scary decision to make.
It was. Yeah, and sometimes you see you have to be, you know, fail early, and you know, fail fast, and you're only learning from it anyway.
And but that in itself, just in that moment, because we do all, you know, afraid it won't work or it won't whatever. What kept you strong in that moment, or kept you sane, that's another word, having to make that decision? Like, how did you manage to cope with that? Because quite often on a bigger, smaller scale than that, people will come up against that kind of the decision that they have to make. Do I keep going down this road because, God damn it, that's what I want to do? Or do I move with it? Like, what keeps you sane and strong in those moments?
I suppose, it did take the wind out of the sails for, I think, it was just coming up to and like all plans changed. So I had, you know, I considered, you know, do I just scrap the whole thing? But I knew there was definitely value, and there was merit in you know, even our basic simple proposition. And I think at the time I did our local enterprise offices here in Ireland. They are quite active. And I think I went back. I went back to them with a new proposition, and I think they encouraged me. They put me in contact with I think for the university here. Well, look, they're actually looking for this particular solution to find customers. So I said, well, maybe I just scale it down into a simpler offering. And a drinks company contacted me about maybe. I probably went back. I think my problem had been that, and I realized that I had put all my eggs in one basket for this big one. I had put so much effort, and that was I suppose that was the mistake. And when I you know set back and thought about it, I thought, look, that was a mistake in itself. You know, I was using it as to be the wow showcase, and here is what we can do, and that was the mistake, I suppose. Maybe I learned from that offer, you know, widen the reach and offer something more simple and more basic.
And it's like having several streams of income. We talk about that as a person, you know, don't put all your eggs just in one basket, you know, have a few different forms. So it's the same within the business itself. It's not just relying on one customer, because the whole lot could go belly up then.
Yeah, and the other thing I'd say, Carmel, is that you know once we were talking about, you know, understanding your customer and you know, offering, you know, speaking their language and offering your. I find a lot of businesses sometimes they don't make it easy then for them to buy from, you know, that it's that. So what is it exactly that you're offering? So here I am. I'm talking about marketing. I help people in the marketing, but how exactly do I work with you? And what
Yes.
is it?
What
What is
problem
your
does it solve?
proposition?
And yeah,
You know,
yeah.
your website has become so important as your hub for your hub for doing business. You know, and I see a lot of websites. There's been, people in the last 2 years, yeah, they know they have to be online. They know they have to be out there with a website. So people build a website and say, okay, website's there now. Where's the
Ta-da.
business?
And as a
But
friend of
it's
mine over here says, that's like a big signpost in the desert. That's about it. Just because
yeah,
it's there
yeah,
doesn't mean
that's
it's there.
it. Yeah. So I think I see a lot of their website isn't always optimized for sales,
Yes.
and it's
Yeah.
so it's that is a kind of a key part, and getting your systems in place. Then I mean, I would say that the website is kind of even more important than it has been previously.
Yeah.
Having a social platform and having social platforms is great, and being out there and being present, but your website is kind of key in getting that right in what your
Yeah.
messaging
And
is,
I
and
see so
making it
many
easy to buy for
people,
you.
they don't even have a clear call to action, or they have a
Yeah,
really convoluted, it's like, oh, well, if you want this, press this or press that, or send me a message, or do this, or send me smoke signals. It's like, stop it, give them one bloody direction, because a
yeah,
confused mind, there is a lot of psychology behind the decision brain and how we make decisions. And one of the things is, if you make people confused, they're not going to know what to do. So
exactly.
therefore they
Yeah,
won't bloody buy. So if there's too
exactly.
many
Yeah.
choices or decisions or whatever like that. So with we've talked about, like, using, being able to contact people all over the world by this medium. Here we are. But if you wanted to break into a country, as in not break into it like a thief, but as you want to get contacts in a certain country, you want to start building a business in that kind of country, how would you recommend you go about that?
Well, I suppose I don't really think about it country by country. It's really it's
Mm,
online, isn't it? I mean,
yeah,
I think I would think more. Well, of course, you can be specific, but I think I'd probably platform first. I mean, in B2B, I think I find LinkedIn
yeah,
fantastic. I mean, you can be, and you can drill down in. You probably you're familiar with the Sales Navigator within LinkedIn.
yeah,
You can be very targeted, and. I'm finding more and more, it's the world rather than a specific by
yeah,
country. And like I in my business, I do particularly target the startup sector in Ireland, because
yeah,
I think there's an advantage to having I think businesses, they probably do want to work with somebody, say, there's somebody that understands the Irish market, so
yes,
here
yes, yes,
they probably do favor working with somebody local. So I do target, and that is, I mean, that's in your targeting,
yeah.
through
And
whatever
how
platform that you're
important,
on.
because you've been doing it for so long, how important is understanding what strategy you have behind it?
Well, to me, it's all about strategy, and having
Yeah,
having a plan in the first place. You see, we don't,
yes,
many businesses, particularly starting out, they don't make a plan. They don't set their
no,
kind of
that's it.
their
Yeah,
objectives, and we're all guilty of it. I think a lot are starting out, and they have their idea. They've invested in bringing it so far, and then it's straight into tactics. And say, well, because they're bootstrapping, they don't have a huge budget, possibly starting out, and it's straight into tactical stuff, and they're not going to get the results.
yeah,
They might get an initial buzz, but they're not going to get consistent results. I'm always bringing people back to the strategy is key, and
yes,
again, understanding the foundations and the basics. Who the customer is, where they're at, where they're hanging out,
yeah,
how do I get to them, having a strategy. It takes all of the noise out, and it makes it clear for the business, and
yes,
where we should
yes,
be, what our messaging should be, and having that messaging consistent and
yeah,
and 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 uh, and on point,
Yeah.
you know, you will get you will get the results. It will.
Yeah.
It's not always an overnight, you know,
No,
particularly with the
and
likes of LinkedIn.
there's no such thing as an overnight success
There
anyway.
isn't.
I have
Yeah, there
never
isn't.
seen
Yeah.
one. I dare anyone. I'm challenging you all to show me. One of the things I found really beneficial when implementing strategy is to use the what I call the feedback mechanism. So, you know,
Yeah.
you have an idea, you put it into place. And then what happens is quite often people will stop when they get what they perceive as the result. The result they'll say is a failure or a success. To me, it's, is it effective or ineffective towards the outcome you want? If it's ineffective, what do you need to learn? Who do you need to talk to? Do you need to tweak it? Do you need to drop it? If it's effective, that's great. Well, how do we polish it up and make it even better? Because that point there, to me, is where most people stop.
Yeah.
They deem it failure and they go, I'm not going to do that again. How many people have you said, I tried that once, I'm not going to do it again, it didn't work. It's like, well, that's that. Yeah. I think we could talk for ages and ages, but anyway, so we'll have to get you back on again. But
no, I'd love to, Carmel. Thank you.
Let me ask you this. So if people wanted to contact you, Roisin, what's the best way for them to contact you?
Well, if the website is marketingmentors.ie.
Right.
And there's a call to action there to get in contact, to book a discovery call or to have a chat about. I mean, I absolutely love chatting to businesses, particularly new businesses. And there's a calendar on there, and they can book a call, and we can see if there's something that we can bring to the help with, or. And as I said, look at every day I'm working with people all over the world. Australia is not a problem.
Yeah, I know.
I've been on a platform on a number of during COVID, a number of networking groups in Australia, and I like the way they do business. The way you do business over there, I don't know. It's just something very refreshing about the approach, and it's I don't know. I think there's a similarity about the way Irish do business. Maybe I'm wrong.
I think there's a lot of Irish over here. That's probably why. I don't know. I always have this vision. If all the people that were Irish or descendants of went back to Ireland, I think we'd sink the whole island. There's just so many of us everywhere. So the one last question I always ask any of my guests that I have on, and it's a bit of a, people go, whoa, that came from the side. It's, if you weren't doing what you're doing right now, what would you be doing instead?
What would I be doing instead? When I what would I be doing instead? It's hard to. When I left school, I was supposed to go one direction. I was interested in nursing. I had kind of notions of kind of I went to boarding school, and I went to school with the nuns, and with a strict upbringing, and I was going to be a nurse. I was going to go and overseas and help the world, underdeveloped countries. I mean, and I remember at the time my father, he encouraged me. He said, "Oh, it's a tough life, go the tourism direction. Just take this year and do tourism and hospitality." And I got the opportunity. He sent me off to the US, where I worked with a tour operator, and I just changed direction completely. It was I went to more the marketing route, and which I haven't regretted really. But I suppose if I hadn't done this, if I hadn't taken that his advice at the time, I probably would be working very hard in a hospital right now.
That's the best answer so far that I've had to that question, and it was literally lickety split like that. And it was a guy, when I asked him that question, I said, "What would you be doing if you're not doing this?" And he said, "A pole dancer." So there's no right or wrong answer. It's just a fun answer. So for now, guys, I want to say a huge thank you to Roisin for hanging out with us. So we loved having her. We will have her back again. But for now, for you guys watching, if you have any questions, anything like that, we'll make sure that we put Roisin's contact details in the comments below. But for now, it's bye from me.
Bye, Carmel. Lovely to talk to you this morning. And we'll chat soon.
Bye.
Take care. Bye.